You're the type of guy, honestly, when I'm watching what he's doing, even though, like you said, it was a whole different type of business than what most people know, it's like, God, I'd like to, it'd be great to have somebody like you just come in and fix up.
Yeah, a middleman. I think that's like, it was fun to play a character like that, just a guy that's like a troubleshooter, because, you know, you would think that those guys really do exist, like fixers.
Yeah.
Just like really sharp, smart guys. It's like that Harvey Keitel character in Pulp Fiction. I think he's like one of those guys, except a business version.
Right. Because, I mean, like you said, you know, he's from Texas, you got your wife and family down there, and it's like, hey, go off to L.A., you fix up the club.
Right.
And then you find out about this other new business.
Yeah. No, that was a funny thing, I liked about the character, is he's not, you know, he's not a guy that's having a nervous breakdown, but yeah, he does gradually get kind of pulled into this business.
Because there was one line, and I know I'm probably going to mess it about, paraphrase, where you said the part about, you know, the type of business that was going on. How once you do get pulled in, then the rest of the world almost seems kind of dull.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely, that idea like appealed to me, because, yeah, here's a guy that's just, you know, a businessman, then suddenly he's around these people and clubs and women and jets, and he just kind of loses, even a good person can kind of lose their moral compass.
Because as you just said, to Barrett plays your wife, and like you said, you've got this great, you know, in the beginning, you can tell it's like nice little small marriage, I mean, you know, type thing. But then as time goes on, she's getting more stuff, but the only thing she doesn't have is
that's the husband. Yeah, again, like for me, like, do a lot of comedies, so the idea of like getting to do a movie like this, which, you know, as a movie goer, I like all different kinds of movies, and yeah, that's what really appealed to me, is to get to be in like a real cool crime movie.
Right. And speaking of which, I mean, you got James Caan in the movie.
Yeah.
so always you're going to look and it's like, there's Sonny.
Yeah,
that's what
I know. It was funny working with him because Tracy Morgan had said he'd had this real funny line that he was working with James Caan on a movie, and he said to James Caan, he was like, you know, if Sonny had Easy Pass, he'd still be alive. and he said James Caan just went and got up and moved away. That's such a good line, like typical of Tracy to like, he's like, I mean, Tracy and I one time, like, literally, I think we acted out the entire Donnie Brasco movie, like one day at work. He's like a huge movie fan, and then also really funny. And I was like, you said that to Caan?
You two together in this movie, it was fun at times to see, and then other times, I've got to say this, it was like, God, you just wanted to strangle you.
I know. I think that somebody told me that I think all the characters in the movie at one point strangle or throttle or punch my character, which is interesting. I guess that's maybe an accomplishment. I don't know.
But you guys go to show, your characters go to show that you can have a great idea that winds up becoming something good, but then, you know, it all kind of changes near the end.
Yeah, I think sort of with success, and you add some drugs and alcohol to it, you know, it becomes corrupt.
Right.
And that's sort of where our two characters sort of dive into this spiral of greed. It's not too fun at the end point.
Right. Because, I mean, they came up with a great idea, really, I mean, in regards to how to get the money in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things. I think that it's the movie's really about greed and all these sort of core base human emotions and all that. And I think that, you know, like jealousy and all that. And I think that, you know, they stumble across the American dream and it eats them alive, you know. And they I guess that their sort of purview of responsibility or whatever that is they just can't really grasp it, and you know, I think it's due large in part to one of the things that they created, which was like, you know, globalization and e-commerce and consumerism just sort of like went, you know, from here to there, yeah.
Right. And then Luke's,
in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
Yeah.
They helped create a way that you could, hey, use your credit card, go online, and boom, we're still doing it today. And then Luke's character comes in kind of like as the fixer, or I guess you'd say, just kind of like, okay, he sees the situation, it's kind of messy, but he helps tie up the loose ends for you.
Well, yeah, he was a businessman. These two guys had an idea. One of them knew the code. He had a brilliant idea, and they worked together on it. And then it just got out of hand. They made some bad deals with the mafia, and it's just sort of became too big for them, and they just didn't know how to run a business. And I think that's where they sort of went off the deep end.
It's funny when you said the part about the mafia, when you have the first meeting with the guy, at the club, you're sitting in the audience, and honestly, you're going, no, this is going to turn out bad. Turn the other way, leave.
Well, they make just tons of errors in their judgment.
Yeah, they have an inspired concept to do something, and then this thing that you would think would be sort of on an economic business level just indestructible, but they somehow just sort of like make every wrong decision there. So
there's a moment where we're at the bouncers, and we're trying to get in the club, but then he faces down this 6'5" just bouncer, and I whispered to him, "There's other clubs down the street," and if he had just listened to me,
right,
we wouldn't have gotten into all this.